This Week in 40K.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to This Week in 40K, the show about the grimdark future that's neither grim nor dark. He's Billy, I'm Colin, and we are excited to be here this morning. Why are you excited to be here this morning, Billy?
I'm excited to be here for many different reasons, but the one that jumped out the most is you said it's neither grim nor dark, and I did too, right here on my shirt and my coffee mug.
That's true. For those that aren't watching, Billy is demonstrating how comfortable and stylish the best in tabletop merchandise is by wearing a shirt that says neither grim nor dark and has pictures of Cartoon Billy and Cartoon Colin on it. Why would anyone not want that shirt?
It's a legit good shirt, and you know, I don't think you really you can wear this in public settings and people will just, think it's a normal shirt.
I think that's great. This is a big week for America because it is Thanksgiving, for those that are not from here. The history of Thanksgiving is fraught with peril, so we're not going to talk about that. But the holiday itself is something I enjoy. And here's why. I appreciate that people come together specifically for food.
Okay.
Because I love food. So what could be a better excuse to see the people that you care about to eat food than a holiday that's all about food? And we're going to ignore the questionable history. So, Billy.
Yes.
Top 3 Thanksgiving foods.
See, and this is probably my hottest take. I prefer the day after Thanksgiving foods more than Thanksgiving foods.
Okay.
My top 3 would be mashed potatoes, cranberry relish, and mashed sweet potatoes.
Okay. Why is that a hot take?
Because if you
just
let
would
me
rather
order
have it
pizza,
all
I
as
might.
leftovers.
So the thing that my family does is there's this dish called, or really it's an ingredient called Welsh rarebit, which is this creamy cheese sauce. And then the day after Thanksgiving, we make open-faced cheese, bacon, tomato, and turkey sandwiches. And they're delicious. But for some reason, we don't allow ourselves to enjoy that on Thanksgiving Day.
Okay.
We just have to work our way up. So the food on Thanksgiving is just not my favorite food.
Okay.
What are your other favorites?
Would like to tell you about my love for the potato.
The potato is a wonderful thing.
The potato makes so many delicious things. And on Thanksgiving, the potato makes mashed potatoes. The sweet potato is not really the same thing as a potato, but I like sweet potato things. And then my brother makes my grandmother's recipe for potato rolls, which consists of making mashed potatoes and then turning them into rolls. And he does it very, very well. So I realized that my 3 lists are all carbohydrates that are related to the potato. And I don't care. I didn't get fat by eating too many vegetables.
That's true.
That's not what happened. So.
Interesting.
All right. Well, I think that's probably enough about Thanksgiving.
It is.
And the hot take is that Billy likes lukewarm leftovers, which is funny because that's how I think of the 49ers. And moving on.
Really? The first place team in the NFC West with 70% to win the division according to 538, second best Super Bowl odds in the NFC. Interesting.
It's interesting how little any of that matters.
Yeah. I hope you're picking out the right 49ers merch to buy at the end of the season. That's all.
Okay. I don't know what I'm going to buy. I feel like I should buy something ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I'm not. But if you guys, for those who haven't paid attention, Colin and I have a friendly wager. Whichever one of our football teams, 49ers, good guys, Seahawks, bad guys, finishes better at the end of the season, we have to buy a piece of merchandise for the other team and then wear it on the show. I am not buying something serious. I'm, $20 to $30 range, most ridiculous looking thing I can find.
Okay. Now, are we allowed? We're not allowed to deface the item. I think that's important because that's not in the spirit of the competition.
Unless you markedly increase the humor value of it in some way.
I don't know. Okay, let's get rolling here.
Okay.
All right. Okay. We're going to do it now.
Indeed.
Are people ready? Hey, I don't think either of us put this link in the Discord. Do you want to do that?
I did, actually.
Oh, okay, great then.
Yeah.
It turns out the Tuesday morning of Thanksgiving week is not a good time to get people up early to watch our show. Our attendance is. You know what I'm going to do? Here's what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start giving away stuff to people that watch our shows live.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I'm going to think. Let me figure out what I want to do. I've got extra objective markers. I've got unopened 40K product. Yeah, so we'll figure that out. All right, here we go.
Our top story.
Sometimes I click the wrong one. But this is not, that's not our top story. What's our top story, Billy?
Top story could have gone in a few different directions this week, but what we chose is just the massive amount of GW reveals and them ramping up towards the holiday season. It all sort of folds into, there was the GW Open finals this week in New Mexico, and they did a bunch of reveals on that. They also released a MetaWatch video that we're going to talk about because while I'm sure all of the people who have regular complaints about MetaWatch could raise those similar ones, there was some actual really interesting information in there. Okay. But, you know, we've got World Eaters, which are the last army that's going to come out in 10th. Got a bunch of reveals. 9th? Right. That's where we are. Gosh, my head is moving ahead of things.
And it's Tuesday.
Is it? What did I say? Did I say something else?
Nothing. I just reminding you where you are and what we're doing.
Feet are pointed north. Something else pointed another direction.
It's always a good day when your feet are on the ground.
Yes. Good morning, Sindri Tapek. So World Eaters got a bunch of reveals. There will be a new unit called the... Oh, God. I didn't even remember. It's the Eightfold. Is that what they're called? The Eightbound, which is apparently 8 separate demons in one Space Marine. They look like World Eater possessed. They're sweet models. They have like crazy amount of chain weaponry. It's a chain like halberd. Looks cool. Mm-hmm. They also have jackals, which look like, you know, good close combat cultists. Okay. Might be interesting. And then they re-showed the Khorne Juggernaut, or the Lord on Juggernaut. I was hoping that the 8 bound were Juggernaut cavalry. Sadly, I do not get that wish. But that's really good for my wallet, because an army of Juggernaut cavalry would have been something I would have purchased.
You'd never financially recover from that.
Yeah, I will be able to remain financially stable. The other thing that was revealed was some dude named Vashtor.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
What are your thoughts on Vashtor?
I don't know who Vashtor is.
No one knows who Vashtor is.
But I saw a comment that said, from Danny, that said, "This is great. I've been a long time Vashtor player," which I thought was really funny. No, I don't know who Vashtor is. He looks like he's a demon of some sort.
Yeah, he is an enigmatic demon forge master, the mastermind behind the Arcs of Omen, which is the new narrative thing that they're not going to put competitive play rules in, although apparently going to put competitive play miniatures in.
It would appear, yes.
Who knows what his true objectives might be? I thought he looked dark mechanic.
So that kind of goes with his branding.
Yeah. I don't know.
I myself tried to be enigmatic for a while and discovered that that's really bad for a podcast host.
Yeah. Or it takes an amazing level of commitment that's just probably not worth the overall juice, not worth the squeeze. He looks Dark Mechanicum to me. Do you think we're going to get some Dark Mechanicum stuff?
I don't know. I know that Chuck hopes so. He has a whole Chaos Army that's styled for Dark Mechanicum that's really cool looking.
Yeah, and this guy seems cool. It would be fun to get interesting rules for him. I think he'll probably be a little bit of a outlier for a while, but you know, who knows? That's truly complete conjecture. The only other thing I want to shout out in terms of new miniatures is over on the Age of Sigmar side, there were some new Night Goblins, and I gotta say there was something that just hit my nostalgia funny bone like directly.
They were really cool looking.
Yeah. I don't know, early 90s night goblins were just had so much personality for like 1.5 inches of pewter.
They were well. The plastic ones was a really great kit around then. Is when the plastic kit came out.
Yeah,
because I have a whole bunch of plastic night goblins, and that's from the late 90s.
Oh, okay. So, you were an orc and goblin player?
I was.
Interesting.
I was. I played orcs and goblins initially, and then several years ago, a friend had been playing Warhammer Fantasy, and he's like, this is right before I got killed. And he's like, why don't you play it with me? And I bought a dude's Death Army from Craigslist.
Right.
And then Age of Sigmar came out, and I collected like crazy. So now I have a giant Death Army, but I don't have anything else anymore. But I did play Orcs and Goblins, and all of the random stuff was what most appealed to me. So I had maximum number of the dudes with the morning
fanatics,
and I had a maximum number of Snotling pump wagons.
Ooh.
And I just went to town and let things be crazy, and that worked well. I won a lot of games letting them go to town and be crazy. I am actually excited for the Warhammer Fantasy book to come out. Like
the rule book or the
rule book.
Isn't it still a couple of years away?
I don't care.
Okay.
I'm still excited.
Oh, my high elves are sitting in storage and will make a reappearance.
We will do some Warhammer Fantasy Battle at Charity Hammer once the timing is right, because Danny is really into it, and I am excited about it. And I know that Peter, Decock Peter, has his huge Wood Elf army ready to go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll do it. It'll make Billy have to bring multiple armies up, but
I will, if I have an opportunity to play fantasy again, I will happily do it. And I might actually paint up the entire High Elf army box I purchased immediately before moving and never playing fantasy again. And it's all new on sprue, just sitting in storage.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have anything more from our top story, or should we move on to what's new?
Let's move on to what's new.
Okay, here we go.
What's new?
What is new, Billy? Tell us.
Well, so there were those new minis that we talked about, and all of those announcements. Just one thing didn't touch on. The World Eater stuff looks like it's coming out in early 2023, so not part of your holiday buying spree. But the main thing I wanted to talk about here was the MetaWatch video that they posted last week. You can find it on Warhammer Community. You apparently can't find a way to make it play at more than 1x speed, which was a disappointment, but I listened to it while doing the outline for this show. There's some good synergy there, and I thought there was some good information in there. I assume not everyone watched it because those MetaWatch articles have a bit of a reputation of being a bit more marketing puff pieces than hard-hitting analytics. And I'm not saying this video was necessarily more hard-hitting, but it was less filtered, and there was some real information in it. So the first thing that they didn't necessarily announce, but sure did talk about, new missions coming in January. So January for whatever the data slate equivalent is, and that there will be actual new missions. Now,
okay, cool.
They've said new missions before, and it was like changing the tertiary inside of it, but maybe after 2 years we'll get more than like one new map layout. As Colin looks at his phone,
it's a work thing. I'm sorry, I have to.
That's fine. All right, I will.
We get a new map layout. Okay,
that's my hope. Because I do feel like a lot of the missions are, if not solved, at least very heavily mined, and there's not a lot of new opportunities for exploration and excitement in them. I feel like people know the missions that are good, know the missions that are less good, and I really think that we could benefit from shaking things up.
I think the missions currently feel incredibly similar to each other.
Yeah, they really do.
And yet all the top players are like, well, I don't know, on this mission, blah, blah, blah. And my brain just doesn't think of it that way. How many objectives are there, and what's the side metric, right?
Yeah. Well, and at least personally, one of the things that I think would, it's a giant can of worms, so I certainly haven't explored it all the way down the rabbit hole. But I think the fact that we only have 5 and 6 objective missions is really leaving a lot of game design space on the bone. I think you could go way heavier in terms of the amount of objectives and then have, tiered amounts of objectives you have to hold. I feel like just having 5 or 6 leads to stagnant gameplay. All the games tend to play out in a similar way, and if you could be in many more places, I think that would be an interesting thing. That's
okay.
my pick.
I don't think they're gonna. I mean, I think that's an interesting idea. I don't see them doing that.
I agree, but I have my drums that I will beat. So that
but
was
you
one
can come
thing.
over and we could play 12 objective Warhammer if you want.
Yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be an opportunity to play Warhammer, which I haven't got to do in quite some time, but I'm looking forward to in December to my triumphant return to Garage Hammer. Other thing, they admitted that the latest data slate did not move the needle very much. Actually, quite frank about, this last one, they tried a light touch and not a lot changed. So it was one of the first times I've ever heard GW be honest about, we did something and it didn't work as well as we wanted.
Right.
And I honestly think that that's worth celebrating. It's just a little bit of honesty there, guys.
No, I think that's great. Somehow, the 1 extra victory point Marines are getting per game didn't fix the needle for them.
Well, the next point was they talked about how Blood Angels won one of the GW Opens, and they're like, data slate worked, it's fixed. And then they laughed at themselves because no, it isn't, and they recognized it.
Okay.
So they were actually self-deprecating in, we get that this was not our work. This was larger forces at play that allowed this to happen. So again, a recognition that the changes they made were so small as to not be felt, and they do recognize it. So the jokes that the community is making about how 1.5 extra victory points out of Shock Assault isn't enough, they get that. And there was some pretty frank conversation about the state of Marines.
That's great.
Flamers, Siege Demon Flamers, called out pretty explicitly as these guys might be a little bit too good. Like the number, they were talking about points changes and things that need to be adjusted. And they're like, yeah, these guys are just way too efficient. So allow that to impact your decision-making going forward. Enjoy the hell out of them, and we'll talk about them later, but Flamers, a little too good. They called out GSC as an army that probably needs some points adjustments, not to raise the top performing units, but to broaden the options that are available. They had a good conversation about how you can do one thing and it will keep you at like 4 and 2, maybe 5 and 1 if you're amazing, but you can only do like this one thing.
Yeah.
And they want to open that up. They talked about sample sizes that they listened to. There was no 6-game joke, which I did think was a missed opportunity, but talked about both the amount of games in their data set, which is mid to high 6 figures, but also referenced that any one individual event can just be a small sample size outlier. So again, a conversation where all of the complaints and worries we have about what goes into their thinking, they sounded like we do, as opposed to what we project onto them. And then the last point that I thought was interesting was Mike Brandt was talking about, and it had to be a reference to Stat Center because he was talking about veteran players, and the way he was talking about it, it was clear as how you can filter the Stat Center thing by veteran versus not. And he talked about how most veteran players aren't very good. And I think that that's fairly accurate. Most people going to a Warhammer tournament are in the middle. There are very few at the very top, very few at the very bottom. And the rest of us, the more self-awareness we can show there, I think the better we'll be. So it was an informative video, maybe not about the state of the meta, but about how GW thinks about things.
That sounds great. I actually wish I'd listened to that. That's a lot of really positive content. And I think that as gamers, we are predispositioned to complaining. We love it. Seemingly, we adore it from the community. And I would just remind you that complaining doesn't make your day better. Positivity does. And when GW does things that are exciting, we should focus on that and be happy about it rather than being critical. You can be critical as well if you want, but keep in mind that if you're only ever critical, the other people will perceive you that way. Your friends, your coworkers, everybody will perceive you as nothing, as someone who's always negative and complaining. Maybe you don't want to be that person. So we can be positive. Good things happen. Lots of good things this week. New models, new codex, which somehow didn't make it into this list.
I thought you guys talked about Guard last week.
Yes, but they're out now.
Okay, here is your Guard space. Talk about your NPC.
They're out
faction.
now, and next weekend will be the first weekend that they're going to be at tournaments. But next weekend is Thanksgiving weekend, which I imagine means that we will have very few tournaments to talk about, at least in the States.
Stateside. UK will probably hold it down.
Well, it's a normal Saturday for them, so they'll have 2 60-plus person tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited about the Guard Codex. I look like I'm going to take a Guard to Mary Slaneshbus, which is a major in 2 weeks, a week and a half. So I'm doing some hobbying. I'm not going to tell you what I'm hobbying because my list is dumb, and I'm excited to show it to all of you. It's not as dumb as some of my friends' lists. So we are not allowed to take Horseman, Creed, Horses, or the Dorn. That might be it. Everything that's unreleased that we don't know the base size for. Sentinels, They're on a bigger base. Corsicans have had models in the past, and frankly, they're just Scions.
Right.
In fact, I have approval to just run Scions on the appropriate legal basis. So I bought a bunch of 28.5 millimeters, which you can get from Amazon, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I bought
Cheap
a bunch
too.
of 20.5. What's that?
It's like $10 for 100 or something.
Yeah. So we are going to. I'm going to do some hobby, and without Creed and Horseman, it's very hard to make balanced lists. So we're all skewing a bit, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes. So lots of Guard content coming up. Hank from Hank's List Corner is also taking Guard. Whichever one of us does better, we'll cover that list.
Okay.
At the after the fact. So that's what else is new. Do you have anything else that's new, Mr.
We have
Billy?
nothing new, but we have many events to discuss. So,
Well, not that many.
there are 9. We could have gone more.
Fair. Here we go.
What's winning?
Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. It's very, very. The meta appears to me to be very, very similar to what we've been seeing. But I didn't get to read any of the analysis this week. I had a busy Monday. So what do the analysts say, Billy? Are we in pretty much the same meta?
Pretty much the same meta. Clowns are still sort of filtering towards the top, but they have a player base size is sort of what's keeping everyone from grabbing pitchforks. Ynnari were actually called out as having one of the better overall weeks, but again, same sort of a thing. There are like 10 of us worldwide playing that faction.
Right.
At least in the events that I covered, again, just jam a bunch of flame.
I think that Ynnari stomps on Guard, or other way around. Guard stomps on Ynnari.
Guard stomps on Ynnari. We actually had a very long and interesting conversation about that in the Discord and how clowns do or don't solve that. And I have my own pet theory about what to do about that problem, and we'll be making an appropriate purchase shortly.
Mm-hmm.
I think a webway gate helps a lot, but I also think that's incredibly terrain dependent.
Yeah, and what the terrain rules are too. Okay, so
that piece.
The first 2 things we're going to talk about is the U.S. Open Invitationals, of which there was 2 of.
Yes.
Now, you probably didn't know these were happening. And it is fair to say, in a show that is trying to be positive, it is fair to say that GW could have promoted these events more.
Yeah.
It's fair to say that. It's also fair to say that they did not get the desired result. What they were trying to do is get their best winners from all of their different events together to show off the best in 40K. And they got the best players, but when you invite players to an 8-person RTT that has no prize support and no ITC points, and they're all people that are chasing the season, they're not going to take it that seriously because there's nothing to win. And this is a trend that's happening at large events where we're not doing prize support. And I don't think you need to give money away or even product. I think you need to give fancy, amazing trophies away for people to care the most. But when you do no prize support, which I believe, I'm not calling anybody out, but I believe that Frontline is doing a lot less prize support than they did before. So if GW is also inviting people to things and not having prize support, that's not a good look, honestly, to me. But, it is what it is. So what we have is 2 RTTs. They look like 8-person, but Billy says they were bigger than that.
I was told on the MetaWatch video that they were 16-person things.
Okay. Well, we only have placings for 8 people, so the other 8 people seemingly don't matter.
It could have been that they were combined into one giant thing, and it was the 16 is each of those 8. That said, the fact that our show's responsibility is to tell you guys information, and this is the level of information we could find, let's treat this year as an alpha test of this concept.
So, when I say that people took silly things, Richard Stigler took Crimson Fists and lost his games. John Lennon took Sisters of Battle, but he had 3 3-person units of Paragons, which is a unit that he doesn't take normally. Mm-hmm. And Jack Harpster won the event with Goths. Now, it's interesting how good Goths are right now, because they have the ability to, if they get the right path, to just beat everybody. Mm-hmm. But they have some hard counters that are really rough. Sisters is actually one of them normally. However, I believe that Jack beat John in that game. So I'm not intending to go through these lists because they are definitely people having fun and a good time. Also, these events aren't big enough to warrant our normal coverage. But we do have, for the best general, we do have Jack Harpster winning that. What a wonderful human. Good job, Jack. John Lennon, another great human, got second. These are all great people. With Sisters, Matt Geyer got third with Thousand Suns, and Ben Sherwin got fourth with Chaos Demons. One interesting takeaway there is that is 4 lists that are 4 factions that on a particular week we always talk about because they tend to do well. Mm-hmm. Unlike Richard Stigler taking Crimson Fists.
Yeah, that's a bit of a meme.
Yeah. The other one was more hobby focused, more narrative focused, and it was won by James Kelling with his Ulthway. Andrew Gagno got second place with his Farsight Enclaves. Sean Naden, third place with Goths. These are all great painters, is basically the idea there. So that is what GW did this weekend. Congrats to them on running the event. We don't have a lot of information about it, but we're happy for them that they got to run it. All right. Now let's talk about actual events. The largest event of the weekend was smaller than they've been. I wonder, Billy, as we get into the winter, are we going to start seeing less and less events leading up to LVO? Maybe there'll be a bunch in January, but I would imagine around the holidays that there aren't as many tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, people lead their normal lives during this time, and so I imagine organizers it's just not as profitable.
And maybe we take off the Tuesday right after Christmas, because Christmas Eve is a Saturday and Christmas Day is a Sunday. That may just not be.
There's going to be a lot of events that weekend?
I don't think so. No, actually. So we're going to start with the Boy GT. What?
I was just going to say we might be able to find something a little bit off normal script to do that week.
We could rank Christmas presents and Christmas foods. We could just get together and talk about Christmas because I love Christmas.
Yeah,
maybe I rank Christmas songs. Maybe. Okay. The Boys GT in West Henrietta, New York, 76 people, 5 rounds. And I have it open here with my notes ready to tell y'all about it. It was won by Brenton Weiss, and he had some Tau. Tau are a really strong army that for some reason people don't think are really strong. I don't get it, but Tau are continually winning. They are we cover 2 or 3 of their lists every single week. They're just simply doing well. They do care a little bit about terrain. They do care a little bit about going first in certain matchups, But in general, Tau is quite strong. I would say that for me, Tau is a top tier army. For me personally, I would put them in whatever you call your tiers, and we don't spend as much time on that as other content providers, creators, I guess. So, anyways, this is a Farsight Enclave list, which is kind of the what we're. No. I'm sorry, Brenton. This is a Tau Sept list. It has 2x5 Kroot. It's got a Cold Star, Long Strike, 2 10s of Kroot, 1 big unit of Crisis with Cyclic, Plasma, and Target Lock and Burst Cannon. This has a unit of 5 Vespid Stingwings. Does that make you happy? Oh, 6. Does that make you happy? Because it makes me happy.
It's a great mission playing tool.
Yeah. 2 Riptides, 2 Bombers, and Shadow Sun. That's the list. This is all the stuff that's good. 2 Riptides, 2 Bombers is becoming really, really common. That's becoming kind of the Tau meta list.
Why the Riptides?
I don't know, because I thought when the book came out that the community told us that they're bad.
Yes, that's what I thought too. And
now they're in like every list, and I don't know what's changed. Maybe they went down in points, or they got buffed at some point. I don't. Yeah. I don't know.
They have never been the part that scares me on the other side of the table, in this edition.
Okay. All right. So second place is TJ Lanigan. TJ had some Tzeentch, I think. Yeah, Tzeentch. So he's got himself the Cult of Duplicity with Ahriman, Exalted Sorcerer, Infernal Master, which is kind of the 3 amigos that typically run a Thousand Suns list. Then he's got a unit of 5 rubrics, another unit of 5, 10 cultists to stand on things, 20 Terminators, a Zengor Shaman, and then a a vanguard of Tzeentch demons that includes the Flux Master and then 3, 4, and 5 Flamers, because Flamers are crazy, so why wouldn't you put them with your Rubric Marines? This list is incredibly powerful. It hits you much harder than you think it does. It plays the mission well. It's durable. It's kind of all the things. So good job, TJ. That list is becoming a pretty strong meta list that we're seeing all the time, for sure. Third place, we've got Eric Marcoux. I'm going to call him Eric Marcoux because
it's fun.
That makes me happy. Eric brought a Cult of Duplicity. That's not right.
He brought Imperial Knights.
He did bring Imperial Knights, but I had the wrong list in front of me.
Yeah.
So this is an Imperial Knights list. It is House Raven, which is different. I am enjoying how much variety we're seeing from the Knights Codex. It's very fun. It starts off with 2 Helverins. One of them's got the Bastard's Helm, which I always enjoy. Then it's got 3 more Warglaves, 3 Warglaves, and 2 Warglaves. Only one has Melta, and then a Knight Crusader and a Knight Errant.
Okay.
I can't tell you much about this list. Frankly, the Knight Codex confuses me.
I just sort of try to keep track of how many big, how many small, and that sounds like it's 6 and 2 or 7 and 2?
7 and 2.
7 and 2. 7 and 2 seems to be the standard for Imperial Knights.
Fourth place is a list I didn't bring up. Wow. Okay, Colin. Hold on.
Chaos Knights of some variety.
Yeah, fourth place is Chaos Knights. Chaos Knights have not actually been performing in the top 5s that much. We've gotten to talk about them. I mean, they've been good, and they can get to the top 5, but we haven't seen them as popular, and I haven't seen them being played as much. I feel like the enthusiasm for them when they came out has diminished a bit, which is sad. I still haven't played against them, Billy.
I have not either, actually. But that's just because I
this list,
Michael Tempe.
Right? This list has a Knight Abominant and a Knight Desecrator. Then it's got 1 Wardog Executioner, and then 5 Wardog Stalkers, and then a Wardog, and then another Wardog Executioner that's by himself in his own special little detachment, probably to give him buffs of some sort. So that's 2 big and 7 little, much like the Imperial Knights list we looked at.
That's how the points work.
Next up is my first time telling you guys about Votan.
Mm.
I have not gotten to look at a Votan list that's done well before. This list got 5th place, which is good. It had a record of 4-1, but its wins were all over 90 points, and its loss was 86 points.
Oh, so, wow.
That's a pretty good tournament. I'm sorry. This is John DeFrank's Votan. He is Kronos Hegemony, which is not the Invul people, so I don't know what they do. He has an Einhir champion, and then a small unit of Grimnir, or Grimnir with his bodyguards probably. High Call, so those are his HQs. Guys, I haven't played against this army. I'm going to try to soon. Then he's got 3 units of warriors, and they look like they're 10s with a bunch of special war gear.
Okay.
Then he's got 2 units of berserkers, which it looks like there's 5 in each. The leader has something called a mole grenade launcher, which makes me happy.
Indirect gun.
Oh, okay. And then the Hearth Guard with disintegrators and plasma blade gauntlets we have here.
Okay.
Then 2 units of pioneers that are 5 each, and a Sagittar squadron of 2 Sagittars. The Sagittar, is that the big tank?
No, it's a small tank. So he brought no hecka chunks, land trains, none of the big guys.
Yeah. So is that list good? Clearly, it went 5-1. Or 4-1. I don't know anything about it. Sorry, everybody. I will try over the next couple weeks to get educated on Votan so that I can do a better job for you beautiful, beautiful, wonderful people, and the ugly people, not just the beautiful people.
Everyone is beautiful in some way.
That's not true.
I know.
Decidedly true. Not true.
It sounded wonderful when it came out of my mouth.
Yeah, like, in what way was Hitler beautiful? I hear he was a good artist, or at least he was a painter.
He did. Oh God, this is a fraud. He did unify so many of us in hating him, and so it gives us a good thing to rally around.
He also did really great economic benefit to Germany, which they all lost when they lost the war. But there was a lot of uptick for previous.
Right, let's stop saying anything nice about Hitler and move on.
You're the one that said that everybody was good and special and beautiful in their own way.
And you validated, what is it? Internet rule number 76. Any conversation on the internet, if it goes on long enough, goes back to Hitler. Hitler was horrible. I didn't know that. The Nazis were horrible. We can move on.
We are not pro-Nazi on this program.
No.
We literally have a Jewish person.
Go to Yad Vashem. Moving on.
Okay. Next up, I'm going to tell you guys about the Renegade Open, a tournament I have been to in Minneapolis, Minnesota. They only had the 65 people, which is sad because this was a 130-person tournament when I went to it in 2018 or so. Mm-hmm. So my guess is that COVID hit their attendance hard, and it hasn't gotten better. 65 is still a really good-sized tournament, but I'm sad for them because it used to be so much bigger. I had this is one of my best tournament results, was Renegade Open. Anywho, it was won by Necrons. How fun is that?
It's such a shock and a surprise.
Well, we haven't been talking about Necrons as much lately.
It's true. Necrons have seemed to be ticking down a little bit.
Yeah. Devin Orchard won it. And he had a list that's actually fairly different from what we've seen. It's a Novak list. It doesn't have the 2 custom traits everyone's used to. It has Anrakir the Traveler, which we don't see normally. Then a Chronomancer and a Technomancer, 5 Immortals, a Plasmacite, which you'd expect, 10 Lich Guard, then 6 Scorpex, 6 Wraiths, 6 Obsidian Destroyers, a Doomsday Arc, 3 Locust Heavy, and then the Silent King. This is interesting because many of the pieces are the pieces you'd expect, right? It's got Lich Guard, it's got Destroyers, it's got Wraiths, all the stuff you'd expect, but then he decided to make it Novak and not make it everything be OBSEC and pregame move, which is really interesting. I think it's the first Novak win we've seen. So good job to Devin Orchard. Second place was won by Tyler Berdarius, which is different from Tyler Bortel. Mm-hmm. It's just a similar name, you see.
They both start with B.
What's that?
Their last names both start with B. That's true.
It's true. And Broderius is a really good last name.
That is a good last name.
Yeah, very good. He got second place at the event with Twilight Harlequins. Harlequins still incredibly good. That book is just going to continually be nerfed and still be competitive afterwards, which I think is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
2 Shadow Seers and a Troop Master. The Troop Master does have a foot in the future, so he is ready to wreck some faces. This has several big units of troops. 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Several 10s, three 10s, and then some little ones to go inside of. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm getting this confused with another boat. There are no boats.
There are no
There
boats.
are just a bunch of 10s, and then he has 3 of the shooty boats and 7, 2 and 4, 2 and 5 of Haywire bikes. Actually, 5 of them are Haywire Zephyrglaive and 2 are Bolas.
Oh, okay.
So again, not what I'm expecting. Did well anyways, which is pretty fun.
That is interesting. That feels like a man who knows what the terrain he's going to play on is.
Yeah, that could be. And that's probably the last time that list does that well until Guard Indirect enters the scene. Because Guard Indirect is going to be a real problem for that army.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up is Kevin Leonard with Chaos Demons. And he went 4 and a tie. The previous 2 people went 5 and 0. 4 and a tie. This is actually a Nurgle list.
Really?
And this is fun because I played against the Nurgle list when the book first came out, and both my opponent and I were like, ooh, this is not good. So to have this guy go 4 and a tie, great. It's got a great unclean one, and then it's got Mammon Transfigured. I don't know who that is, but man, is that fun. 3 Nurglings, 10 Plague Bearers, then a Great Unclean one, and then Rodigus, who is 300. Oh, that's the name, not Great Unclean one. So This is triple Great Unclean one. 2 by 3 Nurglings, so that's 3 by 3 altogether, and then 3 Soul Grinders. I literally have a bit rep on the network you guys can go watch right now of me playing Gene Stealer Cult, Mono Gene Stealer Cult, into nearly this exact list.
Okay. How did it go? I haven't watched that one yet.
Or
do they have to watch and find out?
They have to watch it and find out, Billy. Don't be silly.
That sounds like someone who's stat checking you pretty hard. Can you
Did you guys know that there are 30 to 60 minute battle reps on our website that literally have player commentary over them telling you what the takeaways were and how the story went? Did you guys know that? There are so many. It is illustrative and illustrative at the same time.
Yes.
At work the other day, I got criticized for saying illustrative. They explained to me that illustrative is the correct pronunciation.
It is, but you have to be a bit of a dick to point that out.
Okay.
Sorry, Colin's coworkers.
Well, I'm comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with that hot take. What's that?
Let me just do a short thing on the bit reps. If what you care about is learning about the game and drawing conclusions about gameplay and game balance and decisions, best 40K battle reps out there. Other ones might be slightly prettier and focus on production values, but if you want to learn about what's happening, best way to do it for your time.
And I do some of them by myself and to stroke my own ego a little bit, which I try not to do because my ego doesn't need that.
Yeah,
I ramble well, and even the ones where I'm doing it by myself, Billy will tell you that Colin and a microphone watching a 40K game has a lot to say.
Yeah,
I explain where I made mistakes. I explain, even in big wins, there's still things that I did incorrectly, and I talk about why they're incorrect, and I walk people through it. So they're one of my favorite things I've made. We're on a short hiatus for a couple weeks, but it's kicking off again next week, and we'll start making them again. Really great. The other thing I really feel like we made that has gotten very minimal attention is we did release a 2-part recap of the Las Vegas team tournament that includes footage from the tournament that we recorded. I bet Billy hasn't even had a chance to watch that yet.
I have not. My
Yeah.
life has been kicking me in the junk in a good and positive way, but there's been a lot of junk.
So
kicks.
like an affectionate junk kick?
I just work is
Or that's
end
what
of
you're
year.
into? Because a lot of people are into that. Well, not a
Yes,
lot.
I'm not my kink.
Some number of people are into that.
Yep, I'm well aware of their existence. I live in San Francisco and have walked past the Folsom Street Fair before. Google that on your not work computer. But yeah, not my kink.
Yep. Okay. I don't know what I was talking about. Did I cover?
Just
did I
finish up
cover
Renegade
the
Open.
Harlequin list from this tournament? No, not yet.
Not the fourth place.
The fourth place was. Oh, we didn't talk about. Oh, yes, we did. It was Nurgle. Kyle Thompson, who I've played before at the Renegade Open.
Yeah.
I don't remember what he was playing. Guard. He was playing guard. And we had an amazing game where he, at the last turn, on turn 4, he made a pretty major mistake that gave me the game, or he was going to win it. I think he had Dark Angels and guard together. That's right, he did. And he got really frustrated, and he calmed himself and said, I'm really frustrated. It's not about you. I'm going to take a breather. And he walked away from the table. And at that point in my 40K evolution, I hadn't learned that lesson yet. And it was really profound for me to see this player who cared a lot about winning kind of acknowledge that it was just a game and that he didn't need to take his frustration out on me, that he made a pretty big mistake. And he walked away and he came back calm, and we played the rest of our game and had a good time. So big shout out to Kyle. What a wonderful human, at least in his interactions with me. And he had Harlequins, but these Harlequins are light Harlequins. 2 Shadow Seers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 5-mans that go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boats, 1 10-man, a Death Jester, 4 Shuriken Cannon Zephyr Glaive Skyweavers. Kyle, the Zephyr Glaive is not better than the Bolas. Sorry. And then 3 Void Weavers. So I hope Kyle remembers that story and remembers it as fondly as I do. Next up, we have more Chaos Knights. Lauren Burns, burning it down, as they say. And Lauren Burns had, this is a little bit of a weird one for me. I wish Chuck was here to explain this to me. So Abaddon's in the list. Great, right? Wonderful. Then it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 War Dog Brigands, all with the heavy stubber, it says. And then 3 War Dog Executioners, and then a War Dog Stalker. Now, if that was the list, I would say that's a Chaos Knights list. But no, he has 3 detachments here. And the final detachment has Changecaster, Transweaver, 10 Blue Horrors, and just 3 Flamers. I don't know why you would do this and not go heavier on Flamers if you're going to go to the effort of bringing demons. It's very confusing, but I won't pretend to know more about Lauren Burns' list, or he will burn me. So good job to him. By the way, Tyler DeVries is another person I had a really good experience with at Renegade Open, and he got 6th place with Leviathan. I don't know any of these other names, so can't shout out anybody else, but that's what happened. So those are my 4 tournaments. I'm now going to hand it off to the beautiful and amazing Billy to talk about England's biggest tournament of the weekend. Billy.
Yep, I got 5 tournaments and 10 minutes to do it in.
In fairness to you, I did go fairly off script this week.
That's right. I prepare for all eventualities here.
All right.
Into the Hellstorm 10 GT in England. 49 players, 6 rounds. So it was a quiet week in England. This was won by Dom Maidlow on Creations of Bile. This was a little bit of an interesting list. He had 2 big units of Chosen. He had no Terminators. And then he had 2 units of 5 Possessed. I, for the life of me, do not understand Chosen at all. I think there are better units across the board, but Dom did better than I've ever done, so who am I to say the nay? Talk about a weird list. 2nd place, Ben Pierce, light Harlequins, 6 basically bare bones troops. You want to guess how many boats there were? Yes.
0?
Zero boats.
Uh-huh.
For the 6 basically bare bones troops to go in, 3 units of 2 Void Weavers, and 2 units of 5 Zephyr Glaive bikes in light.
All right.
Strong data sheets. Boy, do I not understand some of those choices. If anyone knows Ben, or if Ben listens to this show and can just help us understand the decision making, I'm sincerely curious about it, because it's just I've not seen that orientation of list work. Mark Pilkington, 3rd place. Emperor's Children, fairly standard. 5 units of Noise Marines, 10 Terminators, 5 Possessed, Abaddon, usual characters. That one was a standard list. You had Raphael Harbinson, 4th place with Blood Angels, Triple Death Company, Triple Sangard, 2 units of Infiltrators and a Whirlwind. Again, what you're used to seeing there. And then Colin Micklethwaite. Just very British spelling that probably with a British accent you can pronounce more easily.
Now called British Colin.
British Colin, yes. There are many Collins in 40K, and
there more every day. It feels like it for a long time. It was just Colin Watts, Colin Ward, and myself, and I never heard about Colin McDade. Now Colin McDade's name comes up all the time, and now we have this new Colin Wicka Waka Waka Wickathweth.
Micklethwaite. Yeah.
Okay, Micklethwaite.
He was on Leviathan Nids, Dual Harpy, Dual Tyrant, 5 Warriors, an Exocrine, a bunch of little dudes. Basically, it seems like datasheet proliferation is the direction of Nids. As long as you bring your Reaper of Obliterax Tyrant, that's cool.
Who did get nerfed?
Yeah, but it's still one of
it's still a pretty big feel bad.
Yeah. All right, so next we have the Kraken GT in Auckland, Australia. I had my Frontiers correspondents tell us some things about this event. And so, where did they? Oh my God.
I would like to point out that Auckland is in New Zealand.
Auckland, New Zealand. It was a Frontiersy side of things. Here we go. So, player placed terrain with a 4-inch radius terrain dead zone in the center. Hearing more about ways to make dead zones in the center of player placed terrain. More information about it. It was 6 rounds, which meant 5-1 was possible for winning it. But Adam Camilleri, spoilers, is overpowered. And boy, did he bring a weird list. According to this, the Space Marine data slate is too strong. Confirmed from one Alex Towell. Votan were there. There were some interesting things with War Dogs. There was...
Wait, did Adam Camilleri win?
Adam Camilleri wins. So let's go into it. Adam Camilleri won 6-0 with almost all Ravenwing Dark Angels. He had the land speeders, the land tempest, the planes. Then he has a small detachment of guys on foot. But that's a list that if you don't see the player name and it shows up in BCP, you're like, oh, this is going to be an awesome, pretty army that someone's trying to win a hobby score. And then he went 6-0. So congrats to Adam Camilleri. You are
that is crazy. Good job, Adam.
Yep. Second place, Finn Decker, Chaos Demons, Bloodthirster, 2 of the Zinch casters, 15 Flamers, 30 Demonettes in 1 detachment, Scarbrand, 20 Bloodletters in the other. That's actually probably the list that I would be running if I were playing Chaos Demons. But since Flamers will get nerfed
with you,
yeah, Flamers will get nerfed before I have a chance to put it together. So, congrats, Finn, there. Alex Cameron, 3rd place with a Hail Craft World list. Everything you would think that would be in there.
So boring.
It was an amazing thing out of the box, and it's still going to get a lot of wins, clearly. Like, its power level is up there.
I love how for guard, they're just like, yeah, you can all have Hail.
Yeah, well, I mean, they tried it with Votan where you could all have Hail on 4s. They've made some mistakes.
That wasn't Hail, but I'm with you. Oh, yeah, I guess it was.
It was better Hail.
Yeah.
Custodes in 4th place, Michael Taylor. He had 5 Dreadnoughts and 3 Helverins. So just, can you chew through this chunk? And a bunch of people couldn't. And then 5th place was Alex Dugmore with Blood Angels. Again, 3 Death Company, 3 Sangard, 1 Big Van Vet squad. All the guys with jump packs and melee scariness. So that is your Kraken GT. And in the final shout out to our friends from down under, Sam had the No Retreat event, which was his first ever ITC 2-day that he TO'd, and Benny was also there, and there are a bunch of pretty pictures that I'll share somewhere else. But I don't have time to go into that. I apologize, Sam. Next, there was the Signidunum, sure, Winter Clash GT in Radnica, Serbia. 38 players, 5 rounds. No lists were uploaded. But we will read some fun Serbian names. In first place was Nicholas Papadopoulos, which sounds more Greek than Serbian, but he had Chaos Demons. Second place was Luka Dragicevic. I believe I said that right, based on my following of the NBA. He had Thousand Suns at 4-1. Renko Zaremski with Black Legion, 4-1. Matt Cesar with Chaos Space Marines at 4-1. So very chaosy here in Serbia. And then David Rankovic, not sure, with Necrons, fifth place, 4-1.
My European geography is terrible. How close is Serbia to the war that's happening?
Well, they're not catching strays, but you could drive there in a day.
Okay.
Yeah. So that a missile hit Poland last week, and I literally work with people from Poland and thought this world is weird. Yeah, Poland is literally next door. It's where they're shipping supplies in from. So
okay.
Then we had the Twisted GT somewhere in England. They didn't say where. 36 players, 5 rounds. This was won by Clement Tornad on the Inari list. This is three Rangers, 3 big units of troops. Clement, again, you're still running Swooping Hawks. Try Shroud Runners. Just try them, please. Do it for me. I think you'll enjoy what happens. But again, Clement, you were my list of the week if we were still doing that. Second place was Sid Sidhu with Imperial Knights. This was all dogs, 2 Moirax, 6 Helverin, 5 Warglaves. It's fun. James Marsden in third place, who is not Cyclops from the X-Men, but he was with Necrons. Same list as the last time we talked about him. Still has 2 planes. It's
imagine the drama if Cyclops was real and he was playing 40k instead of MCP.
Well, then we'd have to just go into the memes of could Superman or The Witcher beat Cyclops or any of the rom-com characters that James Marsden played.
Fair enough.
Fourth place, Josh French with Death Guard. This was Poxwalkers and Death Shrouds. Lots of both of those guys. Mm-hmm. Almost no Plague Marines. Actually, no Plague Marines. So that was interesting. And then in fifth place, we had James Grover running Craft World. Ulfway, specifically, he had an avatar in there hanging out with Eldrad. Avatar close to my heart. He also had a Wraith Seer and then just a bunch of aspects. Probably plays the mission pretty well. It wouldn't get my first place vote for best thing you can do with Craft World, but he did well. So congrats, James. And then the final event in the final minute and a half I have here, the Capital Clash Fall 22 in Gatineau, Canada. 36 players, 5 rounds. Won by Nicholas Blackburn with a very similar list to what you were talking about earlier that TJ Lanigan was running. 1,000 Suns plus 15 Flamers.
Yep.
It's really good. Francois Lalonde brought Leagues of Votan. He brought Emir. This had 2 of the land trains, 10 berserkers, 9 bikes, a bunch of dudes to round it out. That is my understanding of what people are pointing at as the scariest list. Okay. And I'm interested to see if our short overlords end up actually ever materializing. Devin Swan in third place with Necrons, very destroyer heavy, no Catan, no planes. We have Maxime Rampen. Same exact list as Nicholas Blackburn's in first place, just 3 more Flamers and cut 75 points somewhere else. And then in fifth place, we had Chris Haynes with Bloody Rose. He ran 6 Nundums and he ran no Retributors. And that is all that I have to say with 10 seconds left to go. So, Colin.
What a wonderful week and what a wonderful time to be alive. The world is great. 40K is fun. Guard is back. World Eaters are soon. The 49ers are not as good as their record shows. It's just a wonderful time.
I would say we're exactly as good as our record shows.
Okay. That's fine. You can believe that all you want. Okay, so we'll be back next Tuesday, or I'll be back next Tuesday. I don't know with who. I kind of want one of the Australians to stay up till 3 a.m. and join me. I don't think that that's an unreasonable ask. I would like a member of Frontiers to be my co-host next week. I think that's what's up. So I'm calling that out right now. One of you guys needs to stay up through the night or wake up early and join me for this. That would be a hoot and a half. So we'll be back next week at 7 a.m. on Tuesday, like we always are. Find us wherever you find your podcasts. We are out. Thank you so much. He's Billy. I'm Colin because someone has to be. And we're the show about the grimdark that's neither grim nor dark. Bye, everybody. We'll be back next week.
Bye.
Bye.